and welcome to the Renovation Nation show, brought to you by Red Maples, your go-to source for institutional-style property management of small multifamily rentals. I'm your host, Nathan Bush, and on each show, we share with you real-life lessons from our real estate experience. We invite industry experts, innovators, and influencers to explore these challenges and opportunities that are facing small multifamily real estate investors. And we've designed this show to answer the specific questions you have about researching your market, setting up effective management systems, and maximizing your returns. If you want more of these types of resources regularly, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel or head over to www.nathanbushmba.com/subscribe. You can also check out the resources in the description links above or below, depending on where you're watching this particular episode from or listening from. I'd like to encourage you, if you're on the show today, to please engage. Share your questions. If you have specific questions or different comments or concerns about different things, I am absolutely happy to answer those questions for you. I'd like to say hi to Travis Durbin that's out there. I know Jason Hudson, both you guys are online watching right now, and I'd like to say hello to you. Today's show, though, is all about risks and how to mitigate them. And I'd like you to think about things today. Maybe you're not quite yet an investor. Maybe you are at a work, or in a professional career, or you're thinking about starting a business, or maybe you do have some real estate investments. Today's show is all about risks and how to mitigate them. I'm going to help you identify and manage some of these risks if you're in multifamily real estate investing. But if you're in any part of life, today's show will really help you out. So if you're not a real estate investor, but you're tuning in for the first time, I highly encourage you to stick through this today and walk through some of the different ways that you can help mitigate some of your risks. I'd be remiss, though, if I didn't take a second to thank our sponsor, Red Maples, who makes this show completely possible for you. If you're a real estate investor and you would like an assessment of your real estate portfolio, understanding what management fees should be and what they should look like and how much it would cost you to have Red Maples manage your real estate investment, go to www.red-maples.com/assessment. There you'll find out that we will complete not only a comprehensive assessment of your finances, but we will also look at the rental comps for you. We'll provide an entire package of where you're at versus where you can be if you just go to www.red-maples.com/assessment. All right, so let's talk a little bit today about risk. Before I get into risk, I'd like to share with you this quote by Ed O'Neill, who plays Jay Pritchett in the show Modern Family. My family loves to watch this show together because it describes some of the real life things that kind of happen from time to time and puts it in a comical way. And here's what Jay Pritchett had to say on the show. He said, the key to being a good dad, well, sometimes things work out just the way you want. Sometimes they don't. But you got to hang in there, because when all is said and done, 90% of being a dad is just showing up. It's just showing up. And 90% of success in life really is just showing up. It's what makes a major difference in the lives of whether people are successful versus people who are failures, is who shows up. You know, I used to, back in my day before I got too much into owning a business, I worked for other companies. And one of the things I did was manage a call center within one of those companies. And when I was managing that call center, one of the greatest challenges that even the top performers would have that kind of kept them from really succeeding and making really good money in their lifetime was they didn't show up to work. They might show up for a couple of days, have a bunch of success, and then they get lazy and they've made enough money to get through the week. And so they don't think they need to come into work the next day. Where Jay Pritchett says in the show, and I totally believe this to be true, Ed O'Neill's a pretty smart guy for putting this line into his show, that 90% of success is just showing up. So we're talking about risk today. We're going to talk all about how to navigate and manage and mitigate these risks. But you got to understand, if you don't show up, if you're not in the game, if you're not actually doing something, the chances of you succeeding in real estate are, slim to none. In fact, your odds of failure are 100% if you can't show up and be a part of the real estate game. Now, Maybe it's a business for you. Maybe that's a opportunity is to be a better father at home. Whatever it happens to be, 90% of success is just showing up. And so that's how you start the process of mitigating risk, is you have to be there. You have to be present. All right, so let's talk about, there are 3 types of risks that you're going to deal with as a real estate investor. Those 3 types of risks are the ones that you're going to have to offset or mitigate. It's challenging whenever you are first starting off because you don't understand or thoroughly have vetted any of these risks. A lot of times when people first start something, they just jump in and start doing it. And that's good. It's always good to take step 1. But before you go too far into step 1, maybe it's best to assess your market risk. That's the first risk that real estate investors are going to deal with of the 3. Maybe it's best to assess your market risk. Rick Grimes in the famous TV show Walking Dead series had this to say: "We are the Walking Dead." And I believe internally that this reflects all of our own journey in life, is to everywhere we go, there you are. Everywhere you go, you bring with you the good, the bad, and the ugly. So no matter what market you're researching, who you are on the inside is going to determine who you are, what shows up on the outside. Who you are in the inside is going to determine what kind of market it becomes that you're buying into. Are you an improver? Are you a builder? Do you value beautiful things? Do you value fixing communities? If these things are important to you, you might be the catalyst that turns around an entire market. If these things aren't important to you and all you care about is money and all you care about is how cheap you can get things done, and this is your values and the things you value, then you might just have the Walking Dead inside of you that spreads that virus all around to the communities that you're buying in. Look, market trends refer to the general direction or pattern of a real estate market or behavior over time. And the first risk you're going to deal with as a real estate investor is this market risk. This is, as we talk about this market risk, it's important to know, though, where you're buying and what's going on in that market. Has the virus started to spread inside that market? Here's a way that you can do some research in local markets. Find out the city that you're going to go to. Find out the areas that you're thinking about buying in, and pull up the local news, whether that's online or whether that's watching it on television, but pull up the local news. Here's a local news article, and I've removed the specific areas away because you don't happen to know where this specific area is for a number of reasons. I just want to share with you how you find this information, because in this article, it specifically cites the areas that it would recommend real estate investors stay away if you just use a little bit of critical thinking. What markets are bad? This news article here says, neighbors say double homicide, blah, 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 home where squatters, blah, 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 are searching for the person responsible for a double homicide that claimed the lives of blah, 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 blah. And it puts a picture of the home. Did you buy the one next door? Now, if you own the one next door and you own this one, fix them. Fix them. This area, this virus is spreading, this virus of nastiness, of disgustingness that runs down communities is spreading throughout this particular community and this local news story, all because the real estate investor brought with them into that market their own negativity, their own problems, their own challenges. What are you doing to eradicate this in your real estate market assessment? If you're going to navigate risk, make sure that you pay attention to this in your assessment. The second thing that a real estate investor, the second risk that a real estate investor is going to deal with is financial risk. Financial risk. Now, I'm not going to walk you through the exercise of underwriting a transaction, but you see up on the screen an underwritten transaction to help understand how much it's going to cost in order to be able to buy this particular fourplex. This particular fourplex, some of the things that other real estate investors wouldn't take into consideration, that me being in management, I just know and happen to understand, is that you're never going to have 100% occupancy in a building. In fact, the first year that you take that building over, you're probably going to have 100% turnover. And if you look at the way that we calculate and underwrite transactions, you'll specifically see that I noted in this particular transaction that we were looking at a 95% occupancy rate and 100% turnover rate in the first year. We also estimate an average of a 10% turnover in these portfolios so that we know within this particular instance that fourplex on what that cash flow looks like after the monthly principal and interest payment, how much it's going to be after taxes, how much it's going to be after management. And you can get a relative example of how much money that you can expect to receive off of this particular fourplex. Now, if this fourplex happens to be in a specific market where conditions are conducive to a higher delinquency rate, then you might have to drop that occupancy rate in order to more compensate or understand tenants' payment patterns. So where you buy determines the market risk, but how you buy determines your financial risk. And you have to underwrite your financial risk. You have to know what's going on in your financial risk in order to make sure that everything is in line so that you can have a profitable real estate investment portfolio. In financial risk, you're not only talking about these costs, though. What about the unintended cost that you just don't have proper insurances in place and something happens? See, insurance is designed to protect you against wealth transfers, where major portions of your money would be going away because you don't have the proper insurances in place. Financial risk also happens when you underpay for things. Think about it. When was the last time that you went in and bought something that was, you should have paid a little bit more for, but you didn't? You went cheap. And how long did that item last? How well did that item specifically hold up for you and do? There's a financial risk associated with not paying for a level of expertise on anything in this world. Quality. There's a financial risk of not paying for the quality of expertise on anything in this world. If you underpay for contract labor, what happens to your investment? That contractor could take money from you and not do the work and just put cover-ups on things, and then you end up with a major financial problem. So it's not just market risks and it's not just financial risks. The third risk that you're going to deal with is this thing called operational, legal, and compliance risk. Operational, legal, and compliance risk. In an operational, legal, and compliance risk, there's 4 different areas in every single business that you've got to be concerned about operational, legal, and compliance risk. You have operational risk, legal risk, and compliance risk in your sales and marketing. You have this in your accounting. You have this in your administration. And you have this in your production or your performance. And so you always have these 4 areas of your business that require operational, legal, and compliance risk mitigation. You see down in the bottom right-hand corner, it says, where is customer service? Well, customer service is provided in all 4 areas of those businesses. In all 4 areas of your business, whether it's sales and marketing, accounting, administration, or production, in all 4 areas, you have operational, legal, and compliance risks with customer service and support. So it's imperative for you to understand that each one of these areas comes with its own risk. Now, how do you mitigate market risk? How do you mitigate market risk? How do you reduce market risk? Well, in financial investing, there's a concept called diversification. It's the concept of not putting all of your eggs in one basket. What does that mean? Well, let me explain this to you in a way that might be extremely understandable, kind of down to earth. There are 3 different markets for you to be able to watch movies in. There's Netflix, Hulu, and Disney Plus. You can watch all kinds of different movies in these markets. In fact, in the Netflix market, Hulu market, or Disney Plus market, there's a type of property, an asset that you can go view. That asset that you can invest in may be an action movie, or maybe it's a documentary. Maybe it's a romance or some type of comedy. Look, In these four areas of markets, in these four types of, or three types of markets, there are four different asset types that you can go after. And this is called diversification, because maybe action could be equivalent to a flip. Could you do flips in the Netflix market? Could you do flips in the Hulu market? Could you do flips in the Disney market? The answer to that is yes. The problem is, what if all you're doing is action flips in the Netflix market and the Netflix market changes? You're in extreme risk. How about romance comedies or romance movies? These are, long-term romantic comedies. These are maybe the ones that are a little bit more fun and a little bit more whimsical. Maybe these are not like your long-term investments. Maybe these are like short-term rentals for you. Well, what if you're doing your romantic comedies on Disney Plus and the market changes? Now, what's a market? You could consider an entire area a market. You could consider St. Louis a market. You could consider St. Charles a market. You could consider Winsville a market. You could consider each municipality in St. Louis. If you're thinking about investing in St. Louis, you can consider each municipality a different market. But you got to understand, what is that market doing and what type of investment am I doing in that market? Am I a documentary? Am I a long-term rental? Can I buy my long-term rentals and mitigate my risks in the Netflix market and the Disney Plus market, and maybe do a couple of action movies? Maybe I can do those flips in Netflix and Hulu. When you're a real estate investor, I just want to get this concept of diversification down so that you understand what to do to mitigate market risks, because markets are going to change. An ounce of an ounce of practice is worth more than a tons of preaching. That was Muhammad Gandhi. An ounce of practice is worth more than a tons of preaching. And I think that you can tell from my 15 plus years of real estate experience that I've got a lot of practice working in different types of markets and a lot of practice working in different types of financial situations for people, and a lot of practice in the third type of risk, which is that operational risk. And so you've got to have the appropriate amount of practice and have done all of this stuff. Otherwise, you're significantly exposed. Now, one of the ways that you can reduce that exposure is through our second sponsor, Web Insurance. Let Web Insurance be your guide. They can review your current coverages and make sure that you have the correct policies in place with the most affordable pricing. And what their clients love is that every year they shop your insurance rates with multiple different carriers to truly make sure that you have the most affordable carrier with the most appropriate coverages. So you can contact Web Insurance if you're a real estate investor or a contractor, and just let Web Insurance be your guide when it comes to insurance. You can go to www.webinsurance.com to get more information about that. All right, so now we've talked about market risks and what you can do to mitigate them through diversification. Now we'll talk about financial risks. Financial risks, the way that you mitigate these financial risks is something called due diligence. And up on the screen, you'll see 5 different steps of due diligence that you need to go through with each property, whether that's conduct, your research, whether that's understanding your markets and demographics and competition, whether that's evaluating financial performance, inspecting the property, or, step number 5, understanding lease terms. Those things are important in mitigating your financial risks, but also due diligence in every aspect of your business is important in mitigating financial risks. See, we just have this core philosophy at Red Maples. And that core philosophy that we live and breathe and kind of run to all the time is seek the truth. Seek the truth. What is the truth in this situation? Seeking out the truth is the concept of due diligence in all areas of your life. My question to you is, are you seeking out the truth in every area of your business? How do you verify that information? How do you validate the feelings that you have with factual information? Data, statistics. I know it gets boring going through spreadsheet after spreadsheet, but you know what a real estate investor, a true real estate investor thinks when they look at data? This is money. This is how I make my fortune that I can set aside for my children's children. They think success principles. This is how I ensure success and reduce risk on all of my properties across the board, as I've done the math. And then once they've done the math, then it's the second step about that is caring about people. You need to have the first step done, though, to reduce the financial risk. You need to do your due diligence. So one of the additional benefits, if you're watching this show, is that you get to learn little things that you can do in order to mitigate mistakes that I have watched other investors make time and time and time again, or mistakes that I've made myself in investing. One of the things that is that major mistake that most people don't do is this concept right here called an estoppel agreement. Is part of your due diligence when you're buying a property, especially a small multifamily property. An estoppel agreement is going to verify the lease terms. It's going to verify the tenants that are living there. It's going to verify the amount of rent that's going to be paid, how much security deposits on file. And this estoppel agreement is part of your due diligence package. It can be asked for from the seller, where you verify every bit of information from the tenant. The estoppel agreement is filled out by the tenant. And so if you are considering investing in real estate and you'd like to reduce some of your financial risk, one of the greatest ways to do that is with this estoppel agreement. Now, the other part of that is if you have the landlord bringing to their tenant this estoppel agreement and asking them to sign it, you better be able to close on the property. You better be able to close on the property. A lot of times where this has become frustrating for other sellers in the past is that they do the estoppel agreement and then the buyer doesn't close and the tenant knows that the property was being sold. That's a problem. That's a problem. So if you get to the point in the transaction where you're requiring the estoppel agreement as part of your due diligence package, just know that you've got to be an honest, ethical person who's willing to do the right thing and close on the property. I can't tell who it was online, but I appreciate you sharing this quote right here. You said it was very good information. I love the example about why it's important to do due diligence. So thank you for sharing that online, guys. I appreciate everybody that's participating in it. Matter of fact, if you have any questions about this stuff, feel free to reach out to me. You can also ask a question right here on the show. I'll answer it live for you. All right. So we've talked about financial risks and what to do about them. We've talked about market risks and what to do about them. Before I get into the third risk and how to mitigate it, being those operational legal risks, let's talk about how to offset some of those internal operational and legal risks yourself. BBC Global Services is the virtual assistant organization that we recommend through Red Maples, and they're a sponsor of our show. They're outsourcing that helps people like you focus on your superpowers. They're simple and on your terms with no term limits and no minimums. Feel free to get a consultation with no obligations. Go to www.bbcglobalservices.com. And the first part of mitigating some of this risk that I'd like to talk to you about, specific with the BBC Global Services, is if you hire internal employees, there's all kinds of risks that come with internal employees. And I'm not telling you don't hire internal employees. I'm saying that if you hire an outsourcing organization, they lift a lot of those legal responsibilities and requirements, not all, but a lot of them. You need to talk to somebody from BBC Global Services in order to understand what those are. But they'll lift some of those legal responsibilities off of your organization. They'll lift some of the financial burden off of your organization. Matter of fact, if you hired a VA, you probably could have them do a little bit of the market research for you too and cover all three types of risks. So we appreciate BBC Global Services as a sponsor of the show. All right, so let's talk about how to mitigate those operational, legal, and compliance risks. The way that we mitigate that third type of risk is through this: professional management. Professional management. Professional, proficient, and profitable management happens with systems and processes that are done consistently over and over and over and over and over again. Does your property management aspect of your business have an application process? Do they have a move-in process? Do they have a collections process? Do they have a leasing script process? What are you doing to ensure that you mitigate your risks because you're doing the same thing over and over and over again efficiently within your business? Processizing your business reduces the legality aspect of the mistakes that can be made that cause people to be upset with your organization. As long as you lead with the understanding that you care about people in these processes. It's people before process, but you have a process in place. So many times I've heard people in my past and in my history say, Nathan, it's people before process, people before process. And I totally agree with that. But you're not putting people first if you're not following a process. Because you're being disrespectful to one person over another person from doing it differently for them. Take the time to put the processes and the practices in place within your business so that you don't misstep, so that you don't injure people. If you do things right and you do them consistently over and over and over again, that builds value in the marketplace that you're performing. By adding value in that marketplace, you reduce financial risks and market risks because you're performing with operational excellence. Each one of these risks plays a key role in understanding how to mitigate other parts of the risk. See, that's why this show is all about those three risks today: the market risk, the financial risk, and the operational risk. You've got to have a plan in place that mitigates all three aspects of those risks. And so many people in the real estate investment industry, they have passion on their side. They have persistence on their side. But I find so many people mess up the profitability side of the management equation only because they're not taking the time to do the mitigation work in order to be actually successful at what they're doing. Look, there's efficiencies in process. Efficiencies in these processes provide better outcomes for you on the other end. Reducing risk is all done through process. The more process that you have in place in your real estate investment business, in your personal business, in your life, the more disciplined habits that you have in your life, the better outcome and output you're going to have in the works that you're doing. You want to be a better father? Put better processes in place. You want to be a better real estate investor? Put better processes in place. You want to be a better business owner? Put better processes in place. You want to be a better employee? Put better habits and processes in place. This is the mistake that so many people are making, is that they think that success comes from just wanting, wishing, or hoping. And that's not the case. That's what makes our business uniquely different at Red Maples, is that we've taken years of process work and practice work and put it into place for you, the professional investor, to ensure that the outcomes that you're looking for happen habitually through the systems that we have in our business. Tony Robbins has this to say: it is in your moments of decision that your destiny is shaped. And I love this quote for today's show. And the reason I love this quote for today's show is because it is in your decisions that you make that shape your destiny. The outcomes that you have in life are 100% determined based upon the decisions that you make. See, if you say to yourself, I'm going to get up every morning and go work out, but you didn't actually make the decision to work out, nothing changed. The decision, when you make the decision to work out, you're actually going to get up and do it. Decision is what moves you from I'm wishing, hoping, I have a prayer, a goal for this, to actually putting those things in place. You have to make a decision and decide the outcome that you're going to start working towards. And that's how you reduce risk. You have persistence with the decision towards an outcome that you're trying to seek and achieve. But you got to know what question to ask. Don't make the mistake of not putting the proper systems in place, or not talking to a mentor or to a business coach, or working with a professional organization that has these systems in place that can help you reduce these costs and risks, these costly things that happen, that I've seen happen over my career to real estate investors. And that's why reducing risk is so important and why I'm so passionate about that. Another Facebook watcher online, listener to the show, is saying, wow, that's good. Make the decision. And I totally agree. You've got to make the decision towards the outcome that you're trying to achieve. There's so many decisions in life that we don't make. Why not make the decisions that's going to shape our lives the way that we want to? There's so many bad decisions that I made in my life whenever I first was going through life, starting and trying to figure this thing called life out. Learn from those bad decisions. Don't make the same bad decision to get you the same bad result. For instance, how many of you that are watching right now didn't do top 10 percentile of your class in high school or college growing up? What decisions led to that outcome of not being in the top of the class? Because I know from research, you can look online, it's not IQ that determines what your grade comes out to be. So there's got to be something else. People are making different decisions than you and getting better grades. Now, take the same concept to real estate investors. There's other real estate investors out there that have been a lot more successful than you. Make a different decision and get a better result. They did. I have to take a second and, before we wrap up the show, thank our sponsor again, Red Maples, that makes this whole entire show possible for you, the listener. If you'd like a rental portfolio analysis and you'd like a review of your portfolio to determine your next steps, go to www.red-maples.com/assessment. We'll review the profitability, leverage, and liquidity ratios of your business. We'll then provide you with a plan of action on the direction you should take with your real estate investing business based upon the performance. Should you sell assets? Should you refinance? Should you add additional property? What should be done with your real estate portfolio? Go to www.red-maples.com/assessment, and we will help you there understand what to do next. All right, so get your citizenship, guys, to Mind Renovation Nation, because this wraps up the show. Mind Renovation Nation, this brings us to the close of another episode. I'm Nathan Bush, your guide on this journey of real estate business growth. Remember, just like plants need the right air, soil, and care, our mind needs the right environment to build a life of purpose, passion, and growth. And don't forget to get this citizenship to Mind Renovation Nation by following us online, subscribe to my email list, and subscribe to the YouTube channel to stay up to date with our latest episodes. If you love today's mind workout, make sure you share it with a friend who's also as passionate about your real estate business or their real estate business as you are about yours. And then this way, they can join us every Friday at noon to go through the same exercises, information that you just received. Until then, keep building, keep growing, and let's lead more than 25,000 souls to this life of values-based investing. In our journey of Mind Renovation Nation, we often talk about personal growth, ethical leadership, and making impactful choices. Values-based investing is an extension of that philosophy. It's about being a steward of not only our finances, but of our values and vision for the future. Signing off from the heart of St. Louis, stay blessed, stay inspired, and remember, every day is a chance to renovate your nation. See you guys later.